Welcome to this comprehensive guide on the Right to Information Act, 2005. In this presentation, we will explore one of India's most powerful tools for citizens, the law that grants you the right to access information held by public authorities regarding government spending and decision-making. The motto, "हमें जानने का अधिकार, हम जिएंगे," translates to, "The right to know is the right to life," emphasizing that transparency is essential to a functioning democracy. Let's dive into understanding this landmark legislation together. The Right to Information Act was enacted on 15 June 2005 and came into force on 12 October 2005, replacing the older Freedom of Information Act, 2002. This act applies to the entire country, from the central government down to local bodies. One of its most powerful features is that it covers not just the executive branch, but also the legislature and judiciary. What makes this act revolutionary is that it shifts the burden from citizens to prove why they need information, to government authorities having to justify why they should withhold it. Now, any citizen of India can request information from public authorities about government decisions, budgets, projects, and policies. It's a tool that has exposed countless irregularities and held authorities accountable. The RTI Act has several powerful features. First, authorities must respond within 30 days, or just 48 hours if your life or liberty is at stake. Second, it significantly relaxes the restrictions of the Official Secrets Act, 1923, which previously made it nearly impossible to access government information. Third, the Act covers all constitutional authorities and government bodies, including the judiciary and legislature. And fourth, there is a three-tier appeal system. If you are not satisfied with the initial response, you can file a first appeal to a senior officer in the same department and a second appeal to the Central or State Information Commissions. These commissions have quasi-judicial powers to compel disclosure and impose penalties. Information means any material in any form, including records, documents, memos, emails, opinions, advices, press releases, circulars, order, logbooks, contracts, reports, papers, samples, models, data material held in any electronic form, and information relating to any private body which can be accessed by a public authority under any other law for the time being in force. Now, who exactly is a public authority under the Act? Section 2(h) defines it comprehensively. It includes anybody established or constituted by the Constitution, by any law made by Parliament or a state legislature, and any organization established by a government notification. But here's what is important: it also covers bodies owned, controlled, or substantially financed by the government. This is crucial because even non-government organizations receiving substantial government funding fall under RTI. For example, if an NGO is substantially financed by government grants, the RTI Act applies to them. This broad definition ensures that almost no government-related activity escapes public scrutiny, covering the entire ecosystem of public service delivery. The RTI Act 2005 establishes a clear three-tier structure for information access and grievance redressal. Public Information Officer, PIO. PIO serves as the first point of contact for RTI requests in every public authority. Key responsibilities include: response timeline, must provide information within 30 days of receiving the request. Life liberty exception, 48 hours maximum for cases involving life or personal liberty. Assistance duty helps applicants reduce oral requests to writing and provides reasonable support. Rejection process must give specific reasons if denying information, including appeal details. First appellate authority. When to appeal, file within 30 days if PIO denies information, provides incomplete response, or fails to reply. Senior officer in the same department, usually one level above PIO, reviews PIO's decision independently. No fee required for first appeal. Must decide within 30 to 45 days. Information Commission, CIC-SIC. Final authority, second appeal within 90 days if first appeal fails. Central Information Commission, CIC handles central government departments. State Information Commission, SIC handles state government bodies. Quasi-judicial powers can summon witnesses, order document production, impose penalties. Decisions are binding on public authorities. Let's look at the important legal sections. Section 3 establishes that all citizens shall have the right to information, effectively operationalizing it as a statutory right. Section 4 places proactive disclosure obligations on public authorities. They must maintain records, computerize them, and voluntarily publish key operational details. Section 5 requires every public authority to designate Central State Public Information Officers, PIOs, to handle requests. Section 6 explains the simple process for filing a request via a written or electronic application. Finally, Section 7 covers the disposal process, mandating that authorities respond within the stipulated time frame. These foundational sections transform information access from a privilege into a legally enforceable right. Section 8 lists exemptions, categories of information that do not have to be disclosed, such as matters affecting national security, sovereignty, or cabinet discussions. Importantly, these exemptions are narrowly defined. Authorities cannot use them as blanket excuses to withhold information. Section 9 provides grounds for rejection if providing the information would involve an infringement of copyright subsidized by the state. Section 10 introduces the principle of severability. If a document contains both exempt and non-exempt data, the authority must disclose the non-exempt portion after masking the protected parts. Sections 18 and 19 establish the recourse mechanism. Section 19 specifically covers the first appeal to a senior officer and the second appeal to the Information Commission, while Section 18 empowers the Commission to inquire into complaints. These sections ensure you have a legal remedy if a request is improperly refused. The Act does not just give citizens rights, it places specific legal obligations on government bodies under Section 4. They must maintain comprehensive records and computerize them to facilitate easy access. They cannot claim information is non-existent simply because they have failed to organize their files properly. Authorities must proactively disclose specific categories of documents. They should not wait for RTI requests but must publish information voluntarily. When formulating important policies, they are required to publish the relevant facts and the reasoning behind their decisions. For administrative or quasi-judicial decisions, they must provide reasons to affected persons. Furthermore, they must designate qualified public information officers, PIOs, at central, state, and district levels. All these obligations exist to make government transparent and accountable as a routine practice, rather than just in response to individual inquiries. While the RTI Act is powerful, certain categories of information are exempt under Section 8. Information affecting national security, sovereignty, and strategic interests can be withheld to protect the state. Cabinet papers, including deliberations of the Council of Ministers, are protected until a decision is taken and the matter is complete. Information that would endanger someone's life or physical safety or impede ongoing investigations is also exempt. Crucially, the Digital Personal Data Protection (DPDP) Act 2023, fully operationalized by November 2025, has amended Section 8(1)(j). Previously, personal information could be disclosed if it served a larger public interest. Now, there is a near-absolute exemption for personal information to protect individual privacy. However, the Act still recognizes that exemptions must be interpreted strictly, and under Section 8(2), information may still be disclosed if the public interest in disclosure outweighs the harm to the protected interest. Filing an RTI request is deliberately made simple so anyone can use it. You do not need a lawyer, and there is no mandatory, special form. You can write on plain paper, or even provide a handwritten request. Address it simply to the Public Information Officer, PIO, of the relevant department. Be specific about the information you want and the time period it covers. For example, instead of asking for all budget details, ask for detailed budget allocation and expenditure reports for the Department of Rural Development for the financial year 2025 to 26. You can file in person, by post, preferably via registered or speed post, or online through rtionline.gov.in for central government departments. The standard fee is 10 rupees, waived for citizens below poverty line, plus nominal copying charges for the documents provided. Always keep your application receipt or unique registration number. It is essential for tracking your status and filing an appeal if necessary. However, if your request involves life or liberty, such as details about an arrest, medical emergencies, or seeking bail, authorities are legally mandated under Section 7(1) to respond within 48 hours. If the information involves a third party, someone other than the applicant and the government, the PIO must consult them, which adds 10 days to the process, making it a 40-day total. Understanding these strict timelines is essential. If an authority fails to meet them, it is considered a deemed refusal, allowing you to immediately file an appeal without waiting any further. The RTI Act has teeth through its robust penalty provisions under Section 20. If the Information Commission finds that a Public Information Officer, PIO, has, without reasonable cause, refused an application or delayed information, it can impose a penalty of 250 rupee per day, up to a maximum of 25,000 rupees. This penalty is personal and must be paid by the official from their own salary. Furthermore, if an official knowingly provides incomplete, incorrect, or misleading information, or, more seriously, destroys information that was the subject of a request, the Commission can recommend disciplinary action under the service rules applicable to that official. These penalties ensure that transparency is not treated as optional but as a mandatory legal obligation. This enforcement mechanism is the backbone of the Act, ensuring that the law is respected and that violations have real, personal consequences for the officials involved. The RTI Act matters because it is the bedrock of democratic accountability. It transforms transparency from a vague ideal into a visible reality, allowing citizens to track how every rupee of tax money is spent, how complex decisions are reached, and whether the rule of law is being upheld. This act shifts the power dynamic, empowering us to transition from passive subjects to active participants in our own governance. With information in hand, you are equipped to question, challenge, and demand results. By exposing irregularities, the Act serves as a permanent check on corruption and replaces institutional suspicion with a relationship of trust. Ultimately, RTI is about more than individual requests, it is about ensuring that a democracy truly functions for the people. Now, let's talk about the RTI Amendment Act of 2019, which fundamentally changed the institutional structure of the law. Tenure. Previously, information commissioners, ICs, at both central and state levels had a fixed, legally protected term of 5 years. The amendment removed this fixity. Now, the central government has the sole authority to prescribe the term of office, currently set at 3 years by the RTI Rules, 2019. Salaries. In the original 2005 Act, the salaries of the Central Chief IC were pegged to those of the Chief Election Commissioner, ensuring they were on par with Supreme Court judges. The new amendment allows the central government to directly determine the salaries, allowances, and other terms of service for all ICs. The impact. Why does this matter? Critics and transparency activists argue that these changes undermine the independence of the Information Commission. By controlling the purse strings and the length of service, there is a risk that the Commission, once an independent watchdog, could function more like a government department, potentially making it hesitant to rule against the very government that decides its pay and tenure. A massive shift in RTI happened recently. As of November 2025, the Digital Personal Data Protection (DPDP) Act and its rules became fully operational, permanently changing Section 8(1)(j) of the RTI Act. The old rule, pre-2025, we had a balancing test. Personal information could be disclosed if it was related to a public activity or if the larger public interest outweighed the person's privacy. The new rule, 2026, the DPDP Act has simplified this by removing the balancing test entirely. The law now says that any information that relates to personal information is simply exempt. The proviso, the old parliamentary proviso, which said information that cannot be denied to Parliament cannot be denied to a citizen, has also been removed from this section. The impact. This creates what critics call right to deny. Because the definition of personal information is so broad, authorities can now block access to details that were once public, like the assets, foreign trips, or disciplinary records of government officials, placing individual privacy above the public's right to know. The RTI Act is not just a law, it is a tool for justice. Housing justice. In cases like the Indira Awas Yojana, now PMA, over 1,000 households across states like Bihar and Odisha secured their rightful homes. By filing RTIs, villagers exposed ghost beneficiaries and forced officials to release funds to the genuine poor. Exposing national scams, a persistent RTI activist, Subhash Chandra Agrawal, used the Act to obtain files that revealed irregularities into G-spectrum allocation. This didn't just lead to policy changes, it became a landmark case for how transparency can safeguard billions in public revenue. Financial recovery. Ordinary entrepreneurs have used RTI to recover excess interest or hidden charges from banks by demanding certified loan statements, proving that transparency works even against powerful financial institutions. Tender transparency. In one instance, after a village tender process was rigged to favor a single contractor, an RTI revealed the hidden bidding documents. This led to a revaluation that benefited 1,800 households who finally received the services they were promised. Grassroots accountability. From checking Manrega muster rolls to tracking Gram Panchayat road funds, RTI has turned villagers into auditors of their own development. Thank you for watching this comprehensive guide to the RTI Act 2005. Always remember the slogan that started this movement, Hamara Paisa, Hamara Hisab, our money, our accounts, and the core principle, Hame Janne ka adhikar hai, we have the right to know. This act is not just a piece of paper, it is your tool to pull back the curtain and hold the government accountable. Don't hesitate to file your first RTI. Whether it is about a local road, a scholarship, or a major policy, your query matters. To get started, visit rtionline.gov.in for central government departments or your specific state RTI portal. If you found this guide helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it. Information is only power when it is shared. Use it wisely for a more transparent and accountable India. Jai Hind!